rebels and troublemakers to stand out. Marginalized with voices making us so proud. For identity in the industry, we all shout. So many women empowered making their own.
So, stunts, action, wild stories that come with it. And stick around. This one's going to be a heck of a ride. Or maybe a crash. A car crash. It's going to be a car crash.
That's funny.
I'm in the color, daughter of a panther. Freedom still the anthem. She paved and made her own way to Hollywood, yelling and one system trying to charge.
All right, everyone. So buckle up, or maybe in this case, harness up, because we're going to talk about stunts and talk to people who actually put their bodies on the line to entertain you. And this is going to be fun. So first up, we have Eddie Perez, and Eddie is a director, stunt coordinator, who has a very impressive career spanning over 300 projects. As a director, he's a multiple award winner for a short film, Test of Time, which, by the way, I produced and has some really hot actors in it. And as a stunt coordinator, 4-time Emmy nominee, 3-time Emmy winner for Shameless, as well as a SAG Award winner for Outstanding Performance by a Stunt Ensemble on Star Trek. His recent projects are Snowfall, Perceptual Lady, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Deadpool, Sekiro. I could keep going on and on and on. Beyond his work on set, he serves as the current governor for the Television Academy's Stunt Peer Group and co-chair of the AI Task Force. And Eddie's got a great passion for storytelling, and his goal is to bring the scripted vision to life using the most creative techniques available in the story. Next up, we have Noelle Kim, and she's the founder of Stunt Contact and Stunt Access, a platform for stunt professionals. She has 25 years of experience and has been a driving force in the action industry. We also have with us today the legendary Angela Meryl. She's a stunt woman with 30 years of experience, an impressive resume. Angela has doubled for some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, including Halle Berry, Beyonce, Angela Bassett. And from crashing an ambulance on Grey's Anatomy to doing a 40-foot fall, live fall on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Angela's stunts have pushed boundaries and earned her numerous accolades, including multiple World Taurus Awards and a SAG Award for Skyfall. She is also the author of Stunts, How to Handbook, and hosts the podcast On the Edge with Angela Meryl, where she shares insights from her incredible career. And finally, again, for the second time, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Damion Poitier, stuntman, the original face of Thanos. For any of you guys that don't know, on that first turn in Avengers, that is my boy Damion. Damion's impressive list of credits includes Captain America, Civil War, where he got his ass beat by Scarlett Johansson. Sorry, Damion. Star Trek, The Orville, and his iconic role as Goldface in The Flash. And here he is here to spill all his behind-the-scenes secrets. So, stunts, action, wild stories that come with it. And stick around. This one's going to be a heck of a ride. Or maybe a crash. A car crash. It's going to be a car crash.
That's funny.
So, I want to start off with, like, how everybody got into the industry and give us a little of your backstory. Like, what was the aha moment for you? Was there a movie or a mentor, or did you fall off of something that said, yeah, I want to do stunts? Damion? Angela?
You started.
You start. Go ahead, Damion. Tell us.
All right. Well, for me, I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment. And honestly, growing up, I didn't know very much about the stunt world. I came into it very late. I was training martial arts because, I wanted to do action in movies, and I figured having some type of martial knowledge would help very much. And I spent years training martial arts. And when I moved to Orlando, Florida, I saw an audition for a low-budget martial art movie. And of course, I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So I went in and auditioned with my training partner. And on that panel were very well-known stunt people. Mike Lee, he's been one of my stunt mentors the entire time. But he was on the panel along with some other stunt illuminaries. And and some of the local Orlando folks ended up linking up with Glenn Wilder, who is one of the original founders of Stunts Unlimited and an incredibly legendary and well-known stuntman. We lost him a few years back, but he was amazing. And they linked up with him, and he said, "I'm having people over. Bring some of your friends." And he was doing a show called Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. At the time, there were only about 5 black stuntmen in the Orlando area, so they brought me along to meet him. And I met him, and he said, "Come here, I want to do something." And, he threw a couple punches at me, and he looks at me, and he winks, and he goes, "So, you want to be a stuntman?" And I said, "Yes." He took me under his wing. He trained the mess out of me. I was working a few months later, and then we were off to the races. So with the what's the word I'm looking for? Lineage like Glenn Wilder, it was all doors were open to me. So I've been incredibly fortunate in how the stunt community welcomed me in, trained me, treated me, and have just been utterly incredible for the entirety of my last 25 years in the industry. that's how
Amazing. What about you, Angela?
Okay, so my ride was crazy as well. Getting in as a child, I was always doing stunts, not knowing that I was doing stunts, riding my skateboard, falling off, climbing trees, fell off of everything, cars, trees, bikes, everything. And as I got older, I wanted to model and act, but then I met a friend of mine, Rusty McClendon, God rest him, he's not with us anymore. He got me on this film called First Kid. He was Sinbad's stunt double forever. And he said, "Hey, I can get you on this film doing stunts." And when he started breaking down to me what stunts were, I thought, what? I can actually get paid to go to work and play and do stuff that I was doing as a kid. Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in. So from First Kid, and I was on the East Coast when I first started. So from First Kid, that's when I got bitten by the stunt bug, I guess you can say. And from that point, I could join SAG, but I didn't join right away because at that time, I think it was 1188 or something. And I just didn't have the money because I just started working. So I continued to do extra work, continued to learn, all the terminology of the film business, continued to network and meet people. And then I did some extra work on, oh my God, I just went blank. It was a Lorenz Tate movie. He was in the military and we were working in the city in New York. And they came to the AD, one of the ADs came to Extras Holding and they said, "We need somebody that can drive in the snow." So I raised, yes, dead presidents, exactly. Thank you, Agent Carlos. Somebody came to Holding and said, "Hey, we need somebody that can drive in the snow." I raised my hand, being that I was raised in Jersey. "Okay, we need to know you have a license." I have my license. They took me outside and put me in this old ass car and said, "All we need you to do is drive down the street, make a left and stop." I'm thinking, that's it? Okay. So I did that. Then back to one. Okay, everybody's wrapped. I'm thinking, that was it? Okay. From there, I got a call from, again, East Coast New Yorker stunt coordinator, Peter Picozzi. Peter Picozzi called me to work with him on New York Undercover back in the day. That's an old show. Y'all probably don't know that. But anyway, he called me to double Lauren Velez.
Okay, we're old. Some of us are old. We know that show.
Okay,
I'm
good.
Gen X. I'm not a kid.
Okay. Well, we're all kids in this business. Come on, we never grow up. Anyway,
Yes, I'm a big kid.
yes. So he kept calling me and I just didn't want to join SAG at that time because in my mind I was competing with, all these legends of actors and stuff and I didn't know any better. I was learning. So the third time he called me, I said, "Okay, God, I get it. I'm supposed to join now. I'm supposed to work with this man." So I worked with him on Oz and a host of other shows. And that's basically how I got my start, was in New York doing stunts with Pete Picozzi, Tim Gallen, Doug Coleman. All these guys are like legends in their own mind. And from there, I got to double Vanessa Williams in Shaft. And from there, I met a lot of LA people and they kept saying, "Oh, you need to come out to LA. There's nobody like you. You'll work a lot. You'll work a lot." But I wasn't ready. So 2 years later, I came out to LA, met more people. And then a year after that, I came to LA and I've been here ever since. It's been 25 years now. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's amazing. For the people that are, I'm sure almost everybody's aware who's previously been here. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild, and they cover actors and stunt people and as their union. So just to give my my guests a heads up, a lot of people are not in the industry, so sometimes when we use our terms, I will jump in and define them.
Just real quick, also, Angela has a great book about stunts if you want to look it up. Angela, go ahead and plug your book real quick.
Hey, everybody. My book is called Stunts the How-To Handbook, Secrets from an Award-Winning Hollywood Stunt Woman. It gives you stories about how I started, and it gives you tips on what to do in the business, what not to do in the business, set etiquette. It's motivating as well, and it's a bestseller on Amazon. Thank you, Cheryl.
Also, Angela has a podcast. On the it's the On the Edge with Angela Meryl. Yes.
Yes, On the Edge with Angela Meryl. It's on YouTube. I post every Tuesday between 12 and 1. I'm talking to everyone in the industry, everyone on the call sheet. The call sheet is basically everybody that it takes to make a film, a TV show, a commercial. So I'm talking to everyone from extras to directors to producers, craft people, everybody in between. Thank you.
Eddie Perez. The
Finally.
man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, I'm here finally.
Tell us how you started.
Wow. Okay. I graduated college. I was training actors how to fight. My buddy Isai Morales, that we grew up together, was out here doing a movie called La Bamba. They needed somebody to ride a 1940s Indian. We looked a lot alike, and he suggested me, and I met Taylor Hackford and a bunch of the people that came out here for the summer just to hang out with him. And I wound up riding a motorcycle on the show and get my SAG card, which I didn't know what the hell that even was. Nor did I really care.
Hey, Eddie, do you have your own stunt background noise happening there with the sirens?
Yeah, I know. I'm outside because they're doing construction in my house. So yeah, it's actually the cops who are chasing me. You can watch me on TV right now. I figured
Not surprised.
I figured I'd do kind of a method thing for the show to really kind of bring it up and get chased while I'm doing it. So, but yeah, I wound up getting my SAG card with him, and then I was still training actors. And before that, I was a bodyguard for a lot of people, and I wanted to go back to do that. And I was on tour with David Bowie, and we were talking, and I was like, I'm getting tired of this. I want to go back to what I really enjoy. And then I came back to LA and started training. I was training Mickey Rourke and Stallone and a bunch of people how to fight. And they were like, hey, why aren't you doing stunts? And I was like, I don't know. I'm trying to, but I don't really understand it. And they were kind enough to introduce me to a few people. And, at the time, there weren't that many Hispanics. So they were few and far between. So it was also a thing of like all the stunt people would say, hey, we only have ND. So I was like, oh, what's ND mean? Which is non-descriptive. I was like, oh, I get it. So ND only means white. Got it. Okay, no problem. And, started working with some people in Eastside. And a lot of actors were Latino actors helped me out. And Taylor Hackford actually helped me out quite a bit. Just kind of started working and worked my way up. So not as exciting as Angela, but, got there eventually.
Stop it.
Oh yeah, not as exciting at all. I worked for David Bowie. I'm just boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was super casual. Oh yeah, exactly. I was chatting with David Bowie.
One of my friends is Al Pacino. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So no, a lot of actors and stuff helped me. Were influential in getting me to do it, and I'm grateful for that. Because they were just like, hey, why don't you want to do it? And I was like, I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure out the landscape. And as we all know, the landscape's changing, day by day.
Yes. Yeah. I remember somebody telling me once that to get a job in stunts back in the day, like you had to go find out where the set was and then go stand on set and like kind of beg the stunt coordinator to even speak to you, if they would even acknowledge you were there. And he stood behind the stunt coordinator on a job for 3 weeks before he even spoke to him.
Yeah, and times have changed. A lot of them were
Yeah.
pretty rude too when you did it.
Yeah.
It's never a comfortable feeling. And I always tell people like, hey, just email me or contact me, especially in this day and age with the price of gas and everything. People still do it. And after COVID has changed a little, like on some of the
Well,
shows I work on, actors have stalkers and stuff, so they don't allow people on set. So that's what I mean by the climate keeps changing. You
yeah,
got to
after
kind of
9/11, when they shut down the studios and made everything very secure.
yeah.
Uh,
Film LA, which is the organization that gives all the permits, used to put out a list of what was shooting during the day, and after that got canceled, and they don't do that anymore.
Speaking of which, Noelle, you have come into the stunt industry as in a different way. You were an agent at one point, and
I started as a casting director and producer, and then I was running Gene LaBelle's business at the time. And he said, "Hey, they need somebody at the Stuntmen's Association," and this is, I think, 98. 99, and I went in and became the first female to ever hold an executive position as VP of operations of the Stuntmen's Association. And in literally a week, I went from knowing nothing about stunts to knowing and socializing with people like, Terry Leonard, utter legend. George Rugi had just come off of Lord of the Rings. My jaw was dropping on a regular basis, and I'm really just the biggest fan. I think people that do stunts are spectacular individuals who are the most humble, honest, admirable people across the board. And so from there, I just became really an advocate for all things stunts. I went on to run Jim Vicker's stunt office, where we did about 500 episodes of scripted television, CSI Miami, Numbers House, Joey, Freddy, Grey's Anatomy, Curb Your Enthusiasm, a lot of shows, and got to meet, everybody in the business. And I saw a need for someone who wasn't in stunts to be advocating, for stunts, trying to find people work. And so that's been my whole life ever since, is just trying to find stunt people jobs, or provide opportunities for jobs. Every coordinator has a different way that they hire. And so tapping into however they prefer to do it and assisting them in their sourcing talent is where I live. Stunt Access is like the Actors Access of stunts, and Stunt Contact is more like, for lack of a better word, Production Weekly, which is a production breakdown.
very nice. I think everybody wants to know, like everybody loves gossip. We love tea. So, first professional stunt job, smooth sailing, or more of a what the hell did I just get myself into situation? Angela, you kind of touched on yours, just driving in the snow, but let's say your first kind of real, and not saying that driving in the snow is not real stunt work, but
Because it
the
is.
first one where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to fall off a building, or, oh my God, somebody's going to punch me. Like, what was that first job where you were like, what the hell did I sign up
Yeah.
for?
Yes, I have one of those. It was on Law and Order, and I was doubling Michelle Hurd. They shut down, I want to say, like 4 city blocks. And, they had the people behind, like the 4th block behind us. There was this explosion. It was a fire gag. I had on fire retardant gear. I had the gel on my face, my ears. I mean, the gel is to protect us from getting burned, for those of you that don't know. All my clothes were dipped in this special fire retardant material. And I got into the middle of the street. There was this van that was going to explode. So I was to run down the street, and then that first crack of the explosion, I was told to turn away because it was going to be really big. So when we were rehearsing, I'm standing in on my mark. I look to my right and I see the fire department, and they're behind, excuse my language, this big ass piece of protective glass. I want to say it was plexiglass, but I'm not sure. They're standing behind it, and they have on their fire gear. And I'm standing there in just these clothes, and they're protected behind this big ass piece of glass. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? And then I turned around and I saw how far back they had blocked off the traffic. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be huge. Am I going to be okay? Like, why am I here? So the take that we did, I ran, I stopped on my mark, I heard that first, and I turned and I fell to the street. When I turned back around, the explosion was not that big. And I started laughing like, okay, was it that big? Do we have to do it again? What happened? When I saw the replay, oh my God, that explosion was huge. And I thought, okay, I'm good. Wow, that was kind of fun. And I realized, okay, I'm home. This is where I want to be. I want to continue doing this. So that was my what am I doing here moment. And that was really early on in my career.
What about you, Eddie? They've blown you up a few times, haven't they? I've blown you
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, you've blown me up. They've almost killed me twice, but I still live on. For me, it was different because I grew up in a pretty violent neighborhood, and I got shot when I was 18. So when I got on a movie set, it was like, this is awesome. They shoot at you and you actually don't get hit. And bullets don't go flying past you. This is awesome, and they pay you. So for me, it was like, this is great. So that was kind of like, I kind of had a moment to myself where I just laughed at the whole thing because all these people are like so intense about getting shot at and everything, and it's like you have no idea, and that's sometimes been my thing where I'm like, I did Snowfall and stuff, and I'm like, that's not really what happens when these things happen. And it's like, how do you know? It's like, I've been there. So for me, it's always been fun to try to bring some realism to it. And that's the one thing, I realize that sometimes people's only reference is TV, which is not a bad thing. But, my aha moment was like, wow, I actually get paid all this money and it's make believe. I'll take this any day.
Damion, was there that moment, what did I get myself into?
It was kind of a combination moment because, when I was working on Sheena, Glenn was old school, so you would go through all of the action every take. Nowadays, they'll punch in and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But back in the day, you would do the whole thing. And my first big stunt was I was riding in a Jeep with the front windshield flat down, and I was playing a soldier, and I was just sitting in the Jeep riding. And Vicky Phillips, very, very talented stunt fighter. I'm sure everybody in this chat knows her. She's actually the original Mystique double. She was dropping down out of the trees into the back of the truck. She would slam me on the dashboard, pick me up, spin me around, slash me. She was playing this creature called the Drachna. And then she would push me, and I had to pop out of the Jeep, land on the hood, and then roll off to the side. All the while going about 25 miles an hour.
Damion, you get beat up by a lot of women.
I do, yeah. It's you know what? It pays well. They seem to like working with me, so I'll take it. So
He likes
so it's not a bad gig if you can get it. So the first take went good, except for when I came off the car, I looked over and I saw the camera pointing away from us. And I was like, we're doing that again. So then the second take went pretty well too, and they were like, okay, you got let's do one more. And one of the things that has to happen is how can I condense the time but get the information out. So when you're doing all that, obviously you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to be aware of like where everyone is, and you don't want to hit the driver. You don't want to hit the stunt person wrong when you're spinning around and things like that. I'm not a small man. I'm 6'4", so I'm sitting in a Jeep seat, and I somehow have to motivate myself to spin around, get on the hood of the car, and then get off the hood of the car. And obviously, you do not want to roll backwards underneath the oncoming vehicle. You want to roll to the side. So there's a lot of calculations you have to do, as you're moving through. And so the second time, it went really easy. And when you come off of a car, most times what you're going to do is you're going to do what's called a toe tap. You don't try to land. What you do is you just tap your feet in the ground and you tuck into a roll. And hopefully you have some kind of training with falling so that you know how to roll out of a situation like that. So the first time I went, I did the toe tap, rolled, no problem. Second time I went, toe tap, rolled, no problem. Now this is where I learned the most valuable lesson of my stunt career. If it ain't broke, leave it alone. I got excited and I was like, you know what? I come off of that Jeep and I have a lot of time in the air. I could probably put a spin in it before I toe tap. I did not have enough time to put a spin in it before I toe tapped.
You realized you were not Simone Biles and small and able to spin, right?
Yeah, no, it was so I came off of it, I tucked hard and I woke up in the bushes. And I woke up in the bushes and I heard Glenn's voice going, "Move so we know you're okay! Move so we know you're okay!"
You didn't give that thumbs up, Damion.
I literally was out. And so I was out. And then finally I started, like, once the ringing stopped and it resolved into his voice and I heard what he was saying, I started moving. And as soon as they yelled cut, I threw my thumb up.
Have you guys ever had a stunt where you were like, no, absolutely not, no way in hell, but then did it anyway? And I know Eddie has, because he actually said to me, no, we can't do that. And then he's like, give me half an hour, I'll figure out how to do it. But what about the rest of you guys?
My hell no, but I did it again. It seems small, but it's really not. The Kill Bill going backwards over the table, the fight scene for Vivica and Kill Bill, where I jumped over the couch. So I did it once, and while I was in the air still, the special effects man blew the glass. So it's supposed to be blow it just as you land, but I was still in the air, which meant you could see that my body didn't break the glass, that I had some assistance. So I had to do it again. And while I was training for this, there were a couple instances while I was training with the Beijing fight team, training how to jump backwards and not break my neck. A couple of times I didn't land properly. And because they're so good, these Beijing guys, while you're in the air, a couple of times they would say, no, 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 no. So I had to shift my body quickly because I wasn't in the proper position to land. So I had all this in mind on set while I had to do it again. And I didn't want to do it again in fear of breaking my neck. So that was my hell no moment, but I had to do it again because somebody made a mistake.
Wow. Eddie?
That's it.
Well, for me, it's twofold. I mean, Nicci and I, like you were saying, I've said hell no when it comes to other performers or when directors decide they're going to do something and change it. So, as a stunt coordinator, your job is not always to say yes. You can say no, but you got to figure it out. So that's from the stunt coordinator side. From the stunt performer side, I did Con Air, and in the scene in the movie, there's a shot where this pilot's dives out of a plane, and then another plane lands, and just flies right over his head and the day before. They did the stunt. I wasn't supposed to do it, but the day before, unfortunately, they had a mock-up plane which is a fake plane, and the hydraulics on it collapsed and actually killed the effects guy. So the next day, they decided we're going to do it practically, and everybody was like, I was kind of the new kid, so I raised my hand and said, "Oh shit, I'll do it." And then I walked away and I go, "What did I just do?" I just basically put myself in the line of fire here. So we did it the next day, and it was windy as hell because we were in Windover, Utah. And the wind picked up the plane a little, and as I landed on my shoulder and just completely destroyed my shoulder. And then realized, oh shit, there's a plane coming at me. I got to duck. And got it done, but I wound up dislocating my shoulder, and it's one of those things. Then, as Angela said, we had to do it again, so we wound up taking duct tape and taping my arm to my belt because my arm just wasn't working. It was completely blown out, so I wound up doing it one more time. So it was kind of one of those things. Unfortunately, that's what you sign up for. So if you want to do stunts, know you're signing up, and sometimes it's not all sunshine and roses.
No, but I will say, let me weigh in here. Eddie is really known in the business as being so safety minded that he's, while he gets along with producers, if it's not going to be safe for someone, he will put his foot down. And I wish more coordinators were like Eddie in that way.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
unfortunately, like Angela, we're from New York, so we speak our mind.
yeah. I've
And
had
Nicci knows that. Nicci's been there with me.
yes, yes, I have. I've been on a set where Eddie said, "Abso-fucking-lutely not," and I will make every SAG person walk with me if you even try this. Which is great for producers when you have your stunt coordinator backing you up, because sometimes when the director wants something and you're the producer and you're like, no, 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 and they just kind of dismiss you. The getting the hardline guys to back you up when Eddie says no or my DP says no and my grip and electric are like, we'll all shut down.
Yeah, but it's also the problem is it's always yes, you say no, but come up with an option so people don't feel like you're completely being combative and shutting them down. Like it's movie magic. It's supposed to be make believe, and some people forget that, and they try to do it for real.
We've been on things when we did and I can't remember the name of that movie because it never came out, but we had a whole situation with a kid who had been rehearsing with the guy that was going to pick him up by the throat and shake him, and on day of, because they were by a lake, the director's like, hey, chuck him in the lake, and we were all like, no. And it was actually Eddie had sent one of his team that day, and it was his guy, then called Eddie, then called me, then got everybody to be like, we'll all walk before we let you throw this kid in the water. I mean, the kid was like 8. And it was a hot day, but nobody knew what was in the water. Nobody had been in the water. I didn't have a water safety team.
And there's laws against that. There's child labor laws against that.
Yes. But Eddie's been great to back up producers when we need to say no and go, that's just not even, that's insane. But let's do it this way. Anyway, how do you, and there is a question here, is there work comp for that? There's work comp for everything, but work comp does not cover when you're making XYZ amount of money per day, per week, per month, and they only want to pay 1/3 of that, and you have bills to pay, and work comp does not cover you being out of work for 2 years or 5 years or whatever, because in our industry, you have to start all over again when you're gone that long.
I've been there, and I've also sued a studio. So, unfortunately, the person that screwed us all, and not just the movie industry, but everyone in general, was Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he changed the workman comp laws. So the workman comp, the way it used to work was they gave, and look, people that said they abused it, I think it was a small percentage of people that abused it, but basically now they open up a book and how much of a percentage are you permanently damaged, and they base it on that. So now the percentage of money you get is very minimal compared to the way it used to be. And our industry, I think, has a less than 0.5% rate of injury. So it's really one of the safer industries, even though we always hear about the worst things that can happen. We're pretty safe overall. The laws were changed basically to change all the corporate, like Grumman and all the government contracts in California. So, but if you get hurt in another state, it's different. So every state has their own laws.
How do you guys get into a headspace to do some of these stunts? Because how do you mentally prepare yourself to be set on fire or to be thrown off of a building or to drive a motorcycle through a plate glass window? How do you mentally prepare?
Well, this is Angela. I like to, talk to the coordinator. Obviously, the stunt coordinator is the one that's designing all the stunts off the script. So I like to talk to the coordinator. And first of all, you wouldn't have gotten that call if the coordinator didn't think you could do it. So I like to speak to the coordinator about the stunt. And I like to visualize the day before, and I pray, and obviously I train for whatever stunt that I'm called on to do. And I trust my coordinator, because if the coordinator thinks you can do it, then you can do it. Even if you kind of doubt yourself, because sometimes, I don't know about everybody else, but sometimes I question, okay, can I do that? I know I can do it, but there's still just that little part, because you've got everybody counting on you, especially if it's just one take. still there's this little question, can I do this? Well, the coordinator called me, so I know I can do it. He believes in me. The team believes in me. I believe in myself. I got this. And then I see myself on the other side. You don't always get the slap on the back, the claps from the crew, but I visualize myself getting that. And I visualize myself going home to my family. That's how I get through it.
I always kind of approach it since I came through martial arts, like a martial arts form. You know, I kind of like do but it's a lot looser. It's like a combination of a martial arts form and sparring, because as a martial arts form is a very rigid, you know, very structured thing, and then sparring is very loose. So it's kind of, you know, you go into it with the, okay, these are the beats I know I need to hit. You know, I need to stay loose enough to kind of account for anything that happens that's going to be different, and then you meditate on that, you prepare yourself, you get yourself in that headspace, and then I stop thinking and just move with it. Because if you try to, like, it's kind of a weird thing for me. If I try to use my active thoughts during a situation like that, I'm more likely to get injured than if I just, you know, have the kind of get the mental programming of this is what you need to do, and then let myself react. So it's an interesting kind of combination of, you know, really visualizing it and then just allowing yourself to experience it and make sure that you're present enough to react in the moment to where you need to be and what you need to be doing.
Agreed, Damion.
Yeah.
I agree with, you know, what Damien's saying too as well. I just you kind of rely on your life training and hope that everything happens in microseconds in your brain. So you hope that all the training and everything you've done in life, martial arts, boxing, driving, whatever, it's going to kick in. So you have to trust that. So for me, it's always like I just get in a nice chill space and just relax. And, you know, I said, you know what you're doing, you know what you got to do. You listen to everybody. And I think the main thing is just listen to everybody and keep your eyes open, because, you know, I've trusted people and almost died. So I'm sorry, I'm not as trusting as everybody is. So I just tend to kind of walk it through myself, talk to everybody, the camera people, and make sure we're all on the same page. Because if I hear a conversation that's different from what was said, I go, hey, hold on a second. That's not what we said. Let's all let's get together and make sure we're all on the same team here. Because I only want to do this once. But, you know, it's one of those things of, as a performer, as you work more, you learn that sometimes you got to speak up if it doesn't feel right. And, you know, I learned that lesson the hard way. So, yeah, for me, it's always just like, again, just go into a chill spot and, like, you know, Damon and Angela both said, you just gotta meditate. Adrenaline, everybody talks about stunt people and thinks like, well, adrenaline junkies. You know, those are daredevils. We do it multiple times. And I think adrenaline gets you killed.
There's a misconception that you guys do everything, but you people are specialized in the stunt industry. Like, some people do falls, some people do burns, some people do water. Do you guys have specialties? Do you do it all? I know that when people started 25 years ago, you did have to kind of do it all, but now it's more specialized. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I specialize in fighting and falling, and apparently fighting women is one of my specialties.
Clearly.
But yeah, mostly
losing,
fighting
and losing.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, part of the stunt job. But I specialize in fighting and falling, and I have driven. It's not my thing. I always go, "Are you sure you want me to drive?" Whenever anyone asks me to do it, and you know, other things I've done that, you know, I can do all the basics, but my specialties are fighting and falling. So anytime anybody tries to hire me specifically on the basis of something else, I say that is not my thing. You know, I can do the basics, but you know, if you want anything expansive, you're going to want to look for someone else. And one of the reasons why I worked so long and I've had such a good career is because I've always been very honest in what I believe myself to be capable of. And I always try to make sure that the people I'm working with are being honest about what is being required. Because a lot of times, you know, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to say I can do it and figure it out. there's certain things you can figure out, and there's some things you can't, and you need to be aware of where your limits are with that, especially with physical movements. Because if you're, like I said, I don't drive, so when somebody's like, I need you to, I need somebody that can do this, 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 and this, even if it's, I haven't worked for a while, I can really use the job, it's an actor I've worked with, and I can double yada yada, I'll say, not me, I'll find you someone. So that's kind of where I'm at with the specialties. Like I said, if it's fighting, if it's falling, if it's wire work, any of that, I'm in. If you're like, I need you to, zip down here, do a 180 and come around this corner, I'm like, nope, you're going to want to get somebody else. So that's where I'm at.
Our industry keeps changing. It used to be where everybody does have specialties. And most of the specialties are the fight guys, the guys that do tricks. And that's a specialty on its own. But this day and age now, with productions being the way they are, it's kind of like going back to the people that are going to get the jobs are the people that can do multiple things, because people are trying to save money. So if you can have a guy fight and drive and do several things at once, you'd rather have one person than have 5 different people. So, but I've done fire, cars, fights. I don't do tricks. I guess tricks is the one thing I don't do. I'm too old, and my body doesn't move that way anymore. And I also stay away from horses. People like Damion and stuff who've been around horses their whole lives and do it well, let them do it. There's certain things that, as Damion was saying, that people specialize in, and you bring those in for those specialties when you need them. I always say I know just enough about everything to get myself in trouble. So, I've done a lot of different things. I've done horses because everybody had me do it once, and I did it once, and you love it. I go, no, I'm good. I'm good. But I think this day and age, it's good to know a little bit of everything. We're going back to the way things used to be. Everything seems to have its own cycle, and we're going back to those days.
Plus,
I agree.
Eddie and Angela, you're talking about a
Next.
level of acting skill as well that they bring to the table that nobody's talking about. But you see Eddie in a lot of scenes because he's able to deliver dialogue. Same with Angela. So to me, that's a necessary skill they have.
I agree with that statement. And as Eddie mentioned, now jobs are going back to where it used to be, where you had to have all those, I'll call them tricks in your bag. You had to have all those skills in your bag. There was a period where people got into the industry because of a specialty, whether it was gymnastics or motocross or cars or fighting. But now you need to learn how to do as much as possible if you want to continue to work. You don't want to just be that one and done or work for 2 years and be done because you haven't been training. You need to continue training. So once you get into this business, you got to level up and keep training at everything. You don't have to be an expert at everything, but you need to know how to do a lot of different things, because you never know what that phone call is going to be when they call you for a job. And you want to be able to say, yeah, I can do that.
Also notice that a lot of times, especially like where I came from, like that, people will come in on a specialty, especially in America, and then get trained into different disciplines. Like you'll start off just doing one thing, and then you'll get carried with either with a performer or with a stunt coordinator who likes you or whatever, and they'll actually train you up into the different disciplines and help you to become a more well-rounded stunt person. That was my experience. Like I said, I came in under fights, and over time, different coordinators were taking me in and said, okay, we're going to do this, or this is what's going on, and I want you. And I'm like, I don't do that. And they're like, don't worry, I got you. And I'll train into whatever the discipline is that they need me to do. And 9 out of 10 times I was able to get it done properly. So that's another aspect. In other countries, they have stunt schools and things like that where you do a lot more like regimented things like that. But that never really hit the States in the same way.
No, I was going to say also, for those of us that grew up in the inner city, we did not grow up driving and, learning how to drive or motocross, any of that. So that's something that, I rode vintage motorcycles and Harley. So that's kind of like something I'm called for all the time, because it's the one thing I do, and I build them and ride them. But as far as, like the fight stuff seems to be how a lot of people get in, because they're good at doing flips and spins and tricks. And that's the easy way. And then throughout it, I've learned from others, other stunt people that are race car drivers or whatever, like, hey, want to come out and drive with us? And that's how you also create your own community that supports you. And a lot of the community is very supportive towards each other. If they see you have the drive to want to learn, and also some sort of skill.
Noelle, you've worked in casting and stuff. Are you finding that more well-rounded or more specialized or working more? How is that working from your end?
So I'm finding, especially in television, because of budgets, their casting is definitely more receptive to actors who can do their own action, or I should say, stunt people who can act. Because it's you don't have to pay 2 dailies, 2 overtimes, 2 meal penalties, all the extras that you have to do. Eddie's a TV coordinator, so he could probably comment it better than I can, but I'm definitely seeing 10 years ago, casting directors, if you suggested somebody who had any kind of stunt credits, they go, oh no, we wanted an actor for this. And it would always piss me off because you've got guys like Richard Farnsworth, who was a lifelong stunt man, but a 2-time Oscar nominee for acting and has a star on the Walk of Fame. So I always found it really prejudiced. I'm finding that prejudice is going away, especially in television. I don't know if Eddie agrees with me on that or not.
Well, Eddie, you've done a lot of acting. So has Damion and Angela. Do you guys find it that you're getting hired as acting stunt people or stunt people who can act? Like, does that help?
Yeah, the stigma is going away. There's a lot of unfortunately, some of the older stunt performers that weren't great actors set a bad tone in some of the directors, but now more and more directors are like, hey, is that a stunt role? Can we get a stunt person? Because it saves you time also. And you also don't have to worry about extra shots of hiding somebody's face. You can actually use the actual performer. So from that sense, it's a time saver, and it's also, we're in an industry that's visual, and if you have to do that extra shot to hide someone, sometimes it takes away from the person that's watching. So from my standpoint, I always try to, when I read the scripts, I circle stuff and go, this could be this, and I present it to the producers and see what happens. Features, it's happening everywhere. It's just a matter of television. Sometimes my question is it going to be a series regular or is it something I don't know? And they'll answer that question as far as if, but 90% of what I do, I play myself.
Speaking of working with actors who do their own stunts, and as a coordinator though, Eddie, what happens when you have like a Tom Cruise? And no, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, but what happens when you have like somebody who's going to do a stunt that's like jumping a motorcycle off of a mountain? Like, do you stand there nervous going, we're going to shut down production if something happens to that guy and people are going to lose their jobs? And oh my God, like, I don't want to be the guy that like injured that actor or actress. Like, are you standing there just holding your breath the whole time? And what's it like to have to train those kinds of people? I know Cruise is like an exception because he's like an adrenaline. He's all about learning how to do his own everything. But what about the other ones?
Well, he's a control freak, so it's all about him. But to his thing, it's like, look, he can do it, but there's other people that test it and do it. Before him, his doubles, even though he technically says he doesn't have any doubles, he finally, I think, in the last 3 movies, actually gave his doubles credit. But it's tested, and in something like that, it's yes, you just send all the emails and everything and cover. Unfortunately, a lot of our business also is covering your ass. So you put it on the studio insurance policies and safety, as you know. There's a lot of other factors that are going to come into play. You're like the last of it. But, I know a lot of the stuff when he does it, the insurance companies will not bond it, he does it on his own out of his pocket, knowing that if something goes wrong, it's on him because the insurance companies just are not willing to cover a lot of that. So, especially now in this age of litigious society and all the studios having so many safety people, there's so many safeguards you just got to be, you just got to know how to navigate around that and make sure I hate to say it, but your ass is covered, because if something goes wrong, people will point at you and go, well, he said it was okay. And it's like, no, you actually all did. And I have the email that says you did. So for me, it's more of like, look, unfortunately, you got to cover your ass, and you also, but also once that's done, I kind of talk to the actor and look into his eyes and see if they're, they said they could do it and they're spinning out, or there's actually, they're focused and can do it. Because there's a lot of actors out there that are really great athletes, and you don't want to take that away from them. But my thing always for actors is like, what are you getting hired for? You're getting hired as an actor. So, my thing is, I had once I had it out with one of the actors, and not in a bad way, but we had a little back and forth. Like, I don't want to double, and I was like, well, I'm bringing one in anyhow. Well, I don't want it. I'm not going to use it. Like, that's fine. We're going to bring it in anyhow. And the next morning when he got there, I was like, how you doing? He goes, I got a 1-year-old. I was up all night. Well, I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I said, well, I got the double. He goes, oh yeah, can we use her? I was like, dude, that's why I brought a double for you, just in case. And I said, your job is to perform. I go, now, if you get injured and we're first shot up, the rest of the day, your whole day, your performance is going to suffer because your shoulder hurts. I don't care who you are. That shows. That translates. And it makes your life miserable. I go, yes, this guy gets the shit beat out of him that morning, but he's home by lunch, ice in his shoulder or whatever happens, to get themselves right, and they're good. That's what you're here for. So it's an ego thing, and a lot of times once you talk to an actor about why you have a stunt double, a lot of them be like, oh, okay, that's cool, thank you. So again, it's communication and tap dancing around people's, the fragility of their egos.
Angela, you've doubled for a lot of people. What's that like when you're standing there trying to be somebody else?
That's funny.
While getting beaten up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the actress has already done a portion of what you're getting ready to do. So you've had the opportunity to watch them and see how they move. So you have a visual on how to mimic their body movements. But sometimes you have to do the stunt first. So then the actor has to do what you did. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. One of my first stunts, I had to double an old lady on New York Undercover. And, I was I was really young then, and to try to walk like an older woman who was gray and well, anyway, yeah, it can be challenging at time when you have to double older people because you have to hunch over and move slower. And so, yeah, but I love my job. I love mimicking people.
You came into the industry like many years ago when a lot of women of color were still played by men in those stunts.
Yes.
How was that to kind of start changing that to include more women that actually could do stunts and not have like smaller men taking over those roles?
Well, unfortunately, we're still fighting over that. We're still fighting over white men doubling women. We're still fighting over men doubling women, period, unfortunately. How was that? Like Damion said, when I came in, there was maybe about 5 stunt women who were working, and I was on the East Coast. Kim Washington, legendary stunt woman. She doubled Whoopi Goldberg all the time. So she was gone. There was myself. She was gone, out of the state working. So there was myself, Nicole Callender, who is now one of the top intimacy coordinators. There was only a handful of us. And the problem has been and still is, if the coordinator doesn't feel that you can do the job, he's gonna call a guy. And that's been a struggle. So you have to train in order for them not to call a guy to double a woman. But it has changed some, but it still happens. That's all I can really say. It still happens.
There's stunt groups, which are fraternal groups of people. And a lot of times people will use their buddies to give them a job and axe you out. And, again, there's a lot of factors that happen, and you kind of have to separate your brain from that and not worry about it, because unfortunately it's something that happens. And that should fall a lot on the producers, because there's still guys doubling women when there's perfect women that are capable, but they're doing it to, hire their buddy or whatever. There's still a lot of incestuous stuff going on. Not as much as it used to be, but there is. And just finding the right person for the job. As a coordinator, it's also hard sometimes when it's something that's very violent or scary where somebody could get hurt. You want to go for the sure thing. And, nobody wants to take responsibility for that.
Angela, you mentioned that Nicole is now an intimacy coordinator. What is that shift from stunts? Like, at what point do you because you guys are actually putting your bodies on the line. At some
Yes.
point, we all get older. I now, used to snowboard, teach snowboarding, and now I can barely walk downstairs after breaking
Oh
my
my
knee a
God.
couple times. But what is that shift? Like, where do you say, not going to do stunts, but I'm going to do X, Y, Z? And obviously Eddie's now a stunt coordinator, who still does stunts, even though Eddie.
I love how you change your group.
But like, at what point is there a shift? Like, what is your, hey, I can't do this anymore, or hey, what am I going to do now? Or like, have any of you gotten to that point?
Yeah, I just got ratcheted a few weeks ago. Look, I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it though. So, but there's certain things I won't do. I won't do car hits anymore. It takes a toll on your body. So it's kind of up to you to have the wherewithal to say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore because I want to be able to walk when I'm 80.
Yes. I agree with Eddie. It's all up to that person on when you feel, okay, this is my time. I'm going to step away, or I'm going to say no to things. I'm at that point now. I'm like, yo, get a 20-year-old to do that. Let somebody else pay their dues doing that stunt. I've done that, been there. I'm not doing it again. And I feel that I'm blessed in this business to be able to say no to some things. When you get that phone call from the stunt coordinator, they ask you, are you available? This is typically how it goes. They call you and they ask you if you're available. Now, normally, as a younger person, you would say, yeah, you would just jump in, not knowing what the gag is. You would just jump in and say, yeah, I'm available. For me now, my first question is, what do you need me to do? Because if it's something that I don't want to do, something that, let somebody else do that, I want to know what it is up front. And like I said, I'm at a point in my career where I feel I can be picky about some of the things that I want to do. I'm really grateful that I'm at that point in my career. I still want to work. I still love doing stunts. I still want to fight. I still want to drive. There's so many things I still want to do. But then there are the things where, nah, get a newbie to do that. And as far as Nicole is concerned, it's all up to the person on when you feel you want to walk away. Like, she hasn't walked away from stunts. This is just another avenue that she's ventured into, and she loves it, and she's really good at it, and she's in demand. So it's like, when you come into the industry, be well versed in a lot of different departments so that you can continue to work. If stunts isn't working, guess what? I'm a rigger. Guess what? I'm an intimacy coordinator. If you're not doing that stunt job, you're in another department working. So I hope that answers your question.
For me, I came into the business with the intention of acting and was invited into the stunt world. So it was, I've always, I wouldn't say I had one foot out of it, but I was, like I said, it was a fortuitous fate that brought me into stunts, and my intention was always acting. So at certain points, I have leaned more away from doing stunt work, and other times I've just been found a crew or a job I liked and just kind of stayed in it and just leaned into it. So it's been a little back and forth for me the entire time. And every once in a while though, you'll get a call. Like now, I pretty much don't really pursue stunts, but if I have a coordinator that calls me that I know that I've worked with that has a gig that's specific for me, or it's an acting job that has a stunt component to it, and they're like, you'd be great for that. Then like I said, there's a couple of bucket list jobs that a call will come in and I'll still do it. But for the most part, it's if I'm getting the call, There's either an acting component to it, or there's a very specific performance aspect that the coordinator wants me for. So yeah.
And yeah, and also there's no certification or anything to be a stunt person or a stunt performer. So in the age of local hire, which means people want to hire people interstate and not pay to fly them out or whatever, there's also a lot of stunts by trial. They're like, oh, this guy's local, he'll work. And again, you can't stop the progress, but there's a lot of that as well. And that takes away, there's so many stunt people out there now for the amount of work that's out there. And being that it's becoming a global industry, every country has got their own little stunt groups and stuff. And a lot of times now, as a stunt coordinator, some of the films I'm looking at, they're saying like, hey, we want to bring you and one other person or whatever, but we want to use everybody locally. And, I sometimes argue because it's like, I'm not running a stunt school. So I have to train all these local people, make sure, because, coming from America, we have a lot more stringent safety measures than other countries do. So it's advanced now, but it's a business, and we all even though we all love it, we have to understand that at the end of the day, it's a money business, and it's becoming more and more. How can we save?
Damion, you for those of us who follow you on TikTok, you're big with your horses. Have you done horse stunts?
No, I'm recent in the horses, Eddie. I haven't done it my whole life. My wife has. I just got into them about 6 years ago.
Would you want to do horse stunts?
No, I would not. Having knowing horses now the way I do, no. It's just that you're dealing with a 1,200 pound or more. Like my horse is 2,500 pounds, so you're dealing with thousands of pounds of prey animal. And people forget that horses are prey animals; they're not predators. So their instinct when something goes wrong is to get out of there. And if you have a horse that you have a great rapport with, then they're like, we need to get out of here. If you do not, the horse is like, I need to get out of here. Whatever happens to you is on you. The horse is like, I don't have to be faster than whatever's chasing us. I just have to be faster than you. So there's a very, yeah. And coming into it later, I'm not 20 anymore. So had you asked me if I got into horses when I was 20, if I want to do horse stunts, I might have had a different response. But at this point in my life and career and with everything going on, I would have to say no, thank you.
And everybody should follow Damion on TikTok because
and I have the utmost respect for all the guys that grew up doing horses and stuff. Yeah, I just have so much respect for them. And again, people that have grown up doing something, you bring them in because that's their forte, and they understand more than you do. I would say, like, sometimes when it comes to that, I want to be the dumbest person in the room because I want people around me that know more than I do that can help me and teach me as well. One thing is we never stop learning.
So I'm going to ask some fun questions, but if you had to remake a famous fight scene, but as a musical, which one would you choose to turn into a song and dance number?
Oh, was it Long Kiss? Oh God, what's the name of that movie? Gina Davis.
Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yes.
Oh my God, I love that movie. It was the first time you got to see a woman just really kick ass stunt wise.
Exactly.
Well, in America, anyway, the martial arts scene's been doing it in Asia for a long time.
Yes, but I was a teenager in America when I saw that movie, and I didn't have a lot of access to other things because back in the day we didn't have the internet. Jamie, what would you like to make into a musical?
Well, I can't really say The Last Dragon because it kind of is. Old school, The Warriors would be an interesting musical.
Nice.
Yeah.
Noelle?
The Matrix. Fight from the Matrix.
Can you imagine The Matrix as a musical? That'd be so much fun.
I'd probably say there's something like Blood In, Blood Out or American Me, one of the gang movies.
I want to talk about AI and CGI and how things how things are changing in the industry. Are you guys finding, like, Do you lean into the CGI AI? Do you want to lean out of it? How are you guys feeling about it? How do you utilize it the best way without taking jobs away from people?
Well, I'm one of the co-governors for the AI task force for the academy. So it's going to happen whether you like it or not. I think it's going to create some job loss, obviously, mainly in the special effects, but all the special effects people are transitioning. But it's also a great tool. I'm playing with it. I enjoy it only because I'm kind of a loner and sit home and like creating stuff in my head and trying stuff. So I don't know how much you see Nicci, but for a lot of the pitch decks now, it's a great way to show people what you're thinking visually and take the guessing out of it. I mean, is it dangerous? Yes. Do laws need to be passed? Yes. But the laws need to be passed to protect everybody, not just the movie industry, because it's going leaps and bounds. I just got an email about one of the updates on one of the new AI platforms, and I got to check it out. It's just getting so good and so fast. I think the only one good thing we could count on is that human beings need somebody else to emulate. So nobody wants to be AI Dwayne Johnson. Somebody wants to be Dwayne Johnson. So that's going to save us for a bit, but it's going to be a transition. I mean, it's happening. I mean, our industry is kind of the last one to get hit. If you talk to other industries, AI has decimated a lot of the car industry and the motorcycle industry as far as design. We used to have like 10 people in a room. Now you have two, one with a computer and one telling them what to do. So it's something we can't avoid. So I kind of tell people like, embrace it and learn it and know the language. So that way you can also tell people like, let's do it practically.
I feel like one of the spaces we have is, and you can counter this if you think so, Eddie, is this isn't going to solve this time. I feel like it's going to crash out before it actually reaches what they're truly reaching for. And I don't know that they're going to be able to push it through to the level that they want it to be before we have the crash. And so there's kind of like a window, like as soon as the crash happens, obviously there'll be a window because everybody will be doing things practically because there'll be we don't want to mess with AI, it crashed out. And then it'll resurge, but when it resurges, then it'll take over. But I feel like it's taking over. It's going to have a little, just like the housing bubble. It's going to have the bubble. The bubble's going to burst. Things are going to kind of go back the other way for a little bit, and then it's going to resurge, and then it's going to be over. What do you think, Eddie?
Well, that's kind of what happened with CGI, right? Like for first, everybody wanted to use it.
Yep.
And then nobody wanted to use it because it looked terrible because people used it to an extent, an extreme, and now it's coming back. Damion, you have done both like physical makeup and then mocap. And I can't even, I'm not going to ask you which one's better, but which one's easier for you as an actor?
As a performer, actually, I prefer a physical transformation because it informs your performance more. If you're wearing I like practical when I'm performing. If anything that's possible, I can do practical. I prefer practical because it just enables a more actual performance. There'll be things that'll happen when you're doing it practically that will create a new reaction into you. That it'll, if you're paying attention, if you're listening, you'll hear something different in broader terms, in the way something moves or the way something sets up or stands, than if you're doing it completely mocap or whatever. It's very rehearsed and it's very much you just creating the whole thing yourself, which can be great. But if you're reacting to something, sometimes you can get a more authentic performance aspect out of it, or a more authentic kind of read on, the situation itself that'll read better to the audience. So that's just me.
More painful, getting hit by a stunt car, stepping on a Lego.
Are you completely barefoot or no? I'm just kidding.
Was it the middle of the night?
At night, you've just gotten out of bed,
right?
Or you got hit by a car.
I'm gonna go with car hit, even though I've never actually done one.
Damion, you've never been in a car hit?
Nope, I've done simulated car hits, but I've never done an actual car hit. I've got
Wow.
tossed off of cars. I was like, you know what?
Over the
I've seen
years.
it. I've seen it enough. I know a lot of friends who have done it. I've seen the results of it. It's never anything I peeked out. I was like, of all the different things I need to do as a stunt performer, car hit, not one of them.
Well, can I say I have never done a real car hit, but I have been on top of the car, and to make it look like I got hit by the car, I was cabled off, and the cable was locked off on a light pole a few feet away from the car. So I was positioned on the hood of the car, and the young lady that was driving was to take off at 8 to 10 miles per hour, which she did not. She took off a lot faster than that. How do we know that? Well, we know that because when she stepped on the gas, I got snatched into the windshield, broke the windshield. The passenger told me that he was afraid I was going to come in and land on his lap, but because she kept going, I got yanked out of the car, pulled up into the air about 10 feet from what the coordinator said, and then I got slammed to the ground and I was knocked unconscious. So I'm going to say that car hit was more painful than stepping on a Lego. That's my take.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Hey, Nicci. And thank you guys for joining us. What was the most dangerous stunt that you have done in your career that you were like, I'm never doing this again?
This question is why I don't do stunts at all. They're brilliant, the people that do this. Never.
That's a kind of a qualifier thing because on some things I've done really, really dangerous things with amazing stunt teams that I would do again. And I've done less dangerous things with teams that aren't quite as concerned with you that I would never do again. So it's kind of a weird qualifier question, if that makes any sense. Like there's people I've done there's coordinators that can call me and I'll say, like Angela was talking about earlier, what's the gag? There's certain coordinators that'll call me that I won't ask what the gag is. There are the other coordinators that'll call me that'll ask, what's the gag? What's the budget? When are you shooting? Who's the, you know what I mean? So a lot of that to me is dependent upon your team. In terms, there's teams that I would prefer not to work with again, absolutely. But in terms
Agreed.
of actual stunts themselves, I don't know that there's anything I would absolutely say no to if I had the right team backing me up to do it.
Yep. If they call me and as soon as their name comes up, I just say not available and hang up.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that too. I mean, the coordinator that I did this car hit with, I had worked with him for years. I trusted him. It was not his fault, and I will continue to work with him because it was not his fault. But the car hit thing, I will never do again. And also bungee jumping. I got an audition for a commercial to bungee jump, and I took it because my agent said, "Oh, just go," and I shouldn't have gone, and I ended up booking it. So when we had our rehearsal, we went to a place to practice at 110 feet. And I had only jumped 40 feet. So at that time, I was really nervous about this, but I proved to myself and everybody there that I could do it because I jumped 4 times. But I just felt this job is not for me. I'm not having fun. And I did not want to get on the shooting day of the commercial and freak out or get nervous or I don't want to do this. So I just stood up for myself and told them on the rehearsal day that this job is not for me and I'll help you find somebody else, which is what I did. So those are 2 things I will never do again.
I am with you on the bungee jumping. I bungee jumped recreationally, not for work,
Oof.
off of a bridge in a foreign country when the wind was blowing, and they should have never let me jump. And the wind grabbed me and slammed me into the side of the bridge and broke my wrist.
Oh my God.
And then I had to wait for them to reel me back up because it was over a lake. And they couldn't just drop me in the water and have somebody pick me up in a boat. So
Wow.
I had to wait for them to reel me back up as I'm sitting there with my broken arm. But
Screaming,
no,
I'm sure.
I'm with you on bungee jumping.
Yeah. And it wasn't even the height because like weeks after that, I repelled 170 feet. So it wasn't even about the height. It was just being on a cable, loosely body falling, if that makes sense. It just was not fun. Well, not fun at all.
Okay, stunts do have a bit of an adrenaline aspect to them, but is there something that's mundane that makes you break into a cold sweat on a daily or on a weekly or whatever, like more than jumping off a building? Like I'm afraid to go to the dentist, or like, is there something in your life that you're like, this is scarier than jumping off of a building?
Okay, my thing is, believe it or not, escalators. I still hesitate when I have to step on an escalator. I have to look down and make sure the step is there. And that trauma comes from when I was about 10 years old, riding an escalator in Sears as a kid, had on sneakers. I got to the bottom and my shoelace got stuck. So they had to shut the whole thing down. So that still lives with me now. As I just said, it's escalators for me. It's crazy. It's silly, but yeah, it's escalators.
Yeah, there's a lot of mundane things where I'm like, ooh, no, thank you. I don't like needles. Do not like needles. Not a fan. Like I would, if there's some way to avoid it. I don't like needles to the point where I was on set and they had a plastic needle that was like I've been stabbed with a retractable knife before, and I was actually more okay with the knife than I was with the needle.
Okay, if we have another question from Agent Carlos.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to know, is there like a stunt or maybe a movie, a collection of stunts in a movie that you didn't work on, that you're like, damn, I wish I had been on that one. That looks like fun.
Wakanda forever.
Oh, yeah, those look like they were good times. I mean, again, there's so many movies and things where you're like, oh, that would have been so much fun to be on. It's hard to narrow one down.
Is there something that you would like to work on? Is there a director or a stunt team or somebody, like, what's the dream? What's the dream, like, movie or stunt team or director?
I don't know. I'd like to work with Luc Besson because I love everything he does. So anything that Luc Besson has done, I'd be a huge fan of.
Yeah,
because he's got such a good sensibility of doing action and story.
I'm going to say Ryan Coogler and Antoine Fuqua. The action that these two put out, I want to do that. I want to work with them. So if you guys have any connections, hook us up.
Oh, Antoine's
Yes.
interesting. But
yes.
I've worked with Antoine a lot. I used to do all the music videos with him back in the day.
Coogler's definitely on my list of would want to work with.
So within the production, for those of you who aren't aware, in our budgets, we have an above the line and a below the line. Below the line is crew and everybody. Above the line is actors, producers, director, etc. And stunts is a really interesting category because while technically you're above the line with actors and producers and directors, you guys are more crew than you actually are above the line, above the line, because you really are getting down and dirty with everybody. So what are still there's a ton of misconceptions. What's the biggest myth in Hollywood that people still believe about you guys?
People think they're daredevils. They are the professional athletes of film and television. So when you watch an Olympic athlete, I find stunt people, most of them are of the same mind, but it's just there's an impression somehow that they're crazy adrenaline junkies, and I just don't find that to be the case. Their whole life depends on getting through each job responsibly. So I think that's the biggest one, and the glamour of it, and the one that burns my ass the most is why there's no Oscar category, because across the board, and I know Eddie doesn't think there ever will be, or that there's a need to be. For me, it's about I think they deserve recognition for their craft. If you're going to give it to Foley artists who do the sound effects of stunt people actually getting possibly hurt, stunt people deserve it, and that's my position.
One misconception is that we have our own union and we're separate. We're part of SAG. We fall under that umbrella is one of the major ones.
Yeah, a lot of actual performers don't even know that we're part of the SAG union. That's not interesting.
Yeah, I would have to say, agreed. The glamour of it all, and there is no overnight success. It takes years to get to this position that we're all in. It doesn't happen overnight.
Wait, it's not glamorous to get hit by a car?
No, it's not. Unless you're wearing a dress and heels, like Tammy Baird, one of our stunt performers. She loves car hits. She has done several in dresses and heels. It's crazy.
You guys have doubled a lot of like the major stars of today. Who is the person that you were like, oh my God, I'm so excited to double this person?
I'm gonna say Beyonce, Halle Berry, Vanessa Williams, Gabrielle Union. Vivica Fox, Angela Bassett. Oh my God, to just stand in this woman's shadow.
What have
to
you
watch
not
her
doubled,
work.
Angela? Jeez. Maybe it'd be easier to do a list of people you haven't doubled
Yeah.
who are amazing.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the day I die for the amount of women I have doubled, and to be in their presence and to be able to watch them work is a masterclass that you cannot pay for.
What about you, Eddie?
For me, the main one was Cheech Marin, believe it or not. To sit and talk to him, and just, he has his own museum and artistry and everything. I grew up on Cheech and Chong. I was a stoner as a kid, so it was really cool to see a different side of him and talk to him. And to this day, we're still friends. So it was just a great life lesson of, for most people, it's like who the person is on screen is not always who the person is. And to be able to delve with people sometimes and get to know them is a real gift.
I was just going to say, Eddie, I have a quick question for you. Do you really like being on Zooms and showing your Emmys behind you because you think that that's going to be intimidating to the producers?
Well, people take me a little bit more seriously too. I don't know why, but I fool them well.
I have another question. There have been a bunch of movies made about making movies, and when I see them from a production side, I'm like, that is not production at all. But you guys just had the biggest movie made about stunts. And how do you feel about Fall Guy?
Don't ask me, please.
Eddie, don't answer that question. Damion, Angela.
Look, I mean, any advertisement's great. I just felt the story was, I don't know, it just wasn't. I think we could have done a higher level of film. It was too campy and too, hey, stunt guy, we've evolved, and it seemed like it was just like 1970s stunt movie. Even though stunts were great and everything, I give everybody credit for what they did. And second of all, you do a movie about Hollywood, then you shoot it in Australia. So I'll just leave it at that.
But I have a quick story. Angela, and I put it in the chat. Do you remember you coming by Awesomeness TV when I was a line producer?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember why?
You messaged me. I don't remember that particular reason, but I do remember coming by to see you because I wanted my daughter to meet you because she's interested in filming. I don't remember.
Angelica Washington. So it came out years after I left Awesomeness TV that she had talked about a paint down situation.
Uh-huh.
I had gotten a call because I was working at Awesomeness at the time. And I'm like, all you had to do was to ask me. And that's why I brought you that day. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that.
If you look it up, because I couldn't talk about it at the time. So if you guys go and look it up, just look up Angelica Washington paint down situation. And it came out during BLM and all of that in, I think, 2020, but it had happened in like 2016, 2017 when I was at Awesomeness, and I couldn't talk about it.
Because you were still working there. Yeah.
But that is why I ended up bringing Angela in. And just for those who don't know, we are friends. She is a member of Women of Color Unite. But I had to tell that story when you guys were talking about having other people. That's why I ended up bringing you by, because there was that situation. And then they kept it under the rug. And then years later, she actually talked about it. And the thing is, when we got the call about the fact that there was a white woman in blackface, me and Kim Scott, who also worked there at the time, we went to HR, which, by the way, was a black woman. They swept that shit under the rug so fast. And I was like, why didn't y'all ask me? I know plenty of black stunt women. And that's when I had you come by the office.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I blocked that or something. I don't remember that at all. But of course, I do remember quite a few of the paint downs. There has been several articles in, that guy died that used to write about it all the time. I can't remember the gentleman's name. But yeah, there's been several paint downs during my career, I can say.
Yeah, I think that ended up being sworn to secrecy, NDAs and all of that, but that's why I ended up bringing you in.
Speaking of sworn to secrecy, or maybe no longer sworn to secrecy, do you guys have any behind the scenes stories that you've been dying to share or can't share? I know, Eddie. Okay, how about a fun behind the scenes story?
I got one. I get a call from a stunt actress I'm repping. She's in Atlanta, and she calls me and she said, "Would you mind calling this production?" They put her in a suit that was metal. It was a metal bodysuit that didn't have a cutout crotch, and she's like, "I've been having to pee for 2 hours now, and I keep asking, but I don't want to be a bother." I was like, "What? You can't pee?" Yeah, it's funny and sad at the same time.
I have a funny one. We're on the set of Star Trek 2009, and I was on the drill fighting Chris Pine. And it's one part of the sequence, he's got his helmet, and he's smacking me in the face with his helmet. And like it was, everything going on. There was a big line of scrimmage. It was if anything needed to be said to the actor, and you can imagine how much this slows things down. So I wasn't supposed to talk to the actor. I was supposed to talk to the fight coordinator, who would then talk to the stunt coordinator, who would then talk to JJ, who would then talk to the actor. So if anything happened or any kind of notes happened, that was how it was supposed to go. And so we're doing the scene, and he's kind of being a little like, he doesn't want to lose the helmet, so he's not really swinging the helmet at me. It's kind of a little, like just babying it a bit, because I can tell he's not 100% certain. And so like everybody's kind of looking the other way, and I was looking at Alina and I go, "Chris, swing that fucking helmet." and like his eyes popped open and looked at me, and like we had a moment, like a connection moment. He goes, "Yeah." So then he came back, and he's just like launching that thing, like, and he's swinging so hard. The last take, he actually swung so hard that the strap that he was holding the helmet on broke, and it shot out across. We were actually on the field. We were on in the parking lot of Dodger Stadium, and it shot across the parking lot and like hit the ground and rolled for like 10 minutes. And like we both looked at the helmet, and when it finally stopped rolling, we looked at each other and we just started cracking up and hugged. And it was just like, wow, because if that had come at my face, that would have been not good.
Have you ever actually gotten accidentally hit when it was supposed to be a miss, but the actor or fellow stunt person actually didn't miss and smacked the shit out of you?
Yeah, I mean, who
We
hasn't
all
been
have.
hit? Exactly. Who
we
hasn't
all
been
have.
hit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got kicked in the face by an actress. She was not supposed to kick me, but she looked right at me and then kicked me. We did not get along very well.
No, notice I'm not saying anything about that.
Eddie, you've been pulling your punches a little bit, but continue.
Yeah, he has. He has. Anyway, this actress kicked me down the stairs.
I was on a TV show once called Soldiers of Fortune, and it was freezing cold out, and they have these little balls that they shoot that look like bullets called Zerk hits, and they're basically small balls that have dust or some sort of particle in them to make it look like a gunshot. And they were shooting them off the floor and ricocheting at us. And it was so cold out that one of them didn't break and hit me in the groin. And all of a sudden, I just dropped. And everybody's like, "What the hell?" He just dropped. And they just see everybody over at Video Village where they watch the video playback. And you hear everybody go, "Oh." And I'm just laying on the ground, and I'm like, I just need a minute, man. It hit me so hard. I didn't even know what happened. I was just laying on the floor. It was not a good few days after that.
My most notable one actually helped me out. It was actually on True Blood, and I was working with the late and great Nelson Ellis. And what happened was, it was kind of a weird thing, because I was doubling another actor, and he had a medical situation, so all of his scenes had to get pushed later in the season. And then an acting role came up, and the stunt coordinator had actually seen me in I was doing a military training video as an actor, and he was like, and I saw him, he was like old school cowboy, and I saw him when he saw me doing the acting, he looked at me, he was like, "Oh." And so I was like, oh man, now he thinks I'm a poser who's just, like moonlighting as a stunt person, as opposed to taking this and seriously and respecting the culture. So an acting role came up in True Blood. I ended up with the acting role on True Blood. So now he's really looking at me like, huh. And then finally we got to the point where the sequence with the actor was supposed to take place. And he looked at me, and I had done a few active things because the little acting thing I'd done was a stunt thing, but nothing really that stunty. So he looked at me and he goes, "No, I got an adjustment for you." For those who don't know, one of the ways that we get compensated as stunt people is depending on the danger and the frequency of the stunt action you take, you get what's called a stunt adjustment, and that can be anywhere from $100 to enough to buy houses on one stunt. So the stunt coordinator looks at me and he goes, "Now I got an adjustment for you, but you're gonna have to do something." And I was like, "Oh no," because like I said, he thought I was posing because he'd never seen me actually do anything really stunty. So in the sequence, I get thrown on the ground, and like didn't matter whether the camera's on me or not, I'm hitting the ground. I hit the ground every single time we went through the sequence. And then at one point in it, he swings and he hits me with a right hook, and you're tussling around, you're moving around, and Nelson got a little close, and he clipped me right, and so I took the hit, and he started to do the. It's funny, and it happens to stunt people too, but a lot of times with actors, when they hit you, they'll stop. And that is the absolute worst thing you can do because then the take is useless. so if they hit you, but the reaction was good and everything was good, they can use the take. If they hit you and they stop, then they can't use the take. So he hit me and I saw his eyes widen up and I just kind of gave him a, keep going and nod. And he finished the whole sequence. And so afterwards, the coordinator comes over and he goes, "You okay? Looks like you took a little hit there." And I go, "Yeah, I'm good." And he goes, and he gave me a nod. And that's when he finally accepted that I was actually a stunt performer and not just an actor moonlighting. So it was a good thing in that case.
And then you went home and took a lot of asprin.
It actually didn't hit me that hard, and I was already going with it because I knew that it was coming. He came a little faster and a little closer than I was anticipating, so it wasn't that bad.
What's aftercare like? Are you guys like getting massages at the end of the day? Are you just taking a bunch of ibuprofen? What do you do to keep keep from feeling those injuries or feeling those days?
Ice, lots of ice. And I use arnica. Arnica is a homeopathic biofreeze, but it's homeopathic. It's topical, and you can take it internally to slow the bruising down, to slow down the swelling. I've used that for years. Lots of rest, warm baths after the ice, and massages most definitely. And eating right. That's a big part, eating right and stretching.
Making sure your body has the right fuel and the right flexibility to get through whatever you're requiring of it.
I studied sports medicine, so I'm really into the peptides now, and also I did stem cell, and it changed my life.
A lot of the times when you hear about stunts in the media and stuff, it's always because something has gone wrong, but more cases than not, everything goes right. But has there ever been a time where you were like, or you looked at another stunt that happened and went wrong, and thought to yourself, "There's just that could have been avoided"?
I don't know. That's always a dangerous thing because it's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and judge somebody, but unless you're there, it's really hard to know what actually happened. I mean, I always try to look at everything and find out what happened, and not for the sense of chastising somebody and saying, "Oh, you screwed up" or whatever. I want to know what went wrong so I can avoid that, because it's a calculated risk. So you do the best you can, knowing that something can go wrong, but you hope it doesn't. But there's always that small percentage. I mean, look, I've sat in a hospital room going, "What the hell just happened?" and had a lot of time to think about it and think about my life and everything. So, for me, it's always it's hard to really put another person down for their ignorance or their lack of ability to stand up for themselves sometimes, which is the case.
Also, there are some coordinators who are a little less safety conscious than others. And I know people who work on teams where they know going in they're going to get injured, which is an interesting kind of process for me. If the coordinators that I know that injure people, I tend to avoid their calls. Because I'm like, I don't need to be out or have something happen to me. I don't have anything to prove by showing that I can tough it out when it comes to whatever circumstance they decide they want to put you in, or whatever thing it is they need you to do to prove. Like it was Michael B. Jordan that said on the set of Rocky, like, you got to take a hit and get knocked out. That's like a whole thing, and I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't understand. I mean, I kind of get the machismo boxing '80s version of it, but it's like it's 2020. Why are you really tagging people in any situation?
And it also doesn't look good. Oddly enough, it does not look good when you really hit somebody.
No, the body seizes up. It doesn't flow the way that it does in performance.
How have things changed since you started?
For me, I think it's gotten safer. People are more of the young stunt coordinators are actual filmmakers. So it's great because they understand camera, because a lot of it's understanding camera. And also, from my standpoint, there's a lot more people of color, which is nice to see.
Agreed on that. Previs, a lot more previs than when I started.
Yeah, the safety aspect's huge, and then some of the more dangerous stunts that would have been done practically before are now done, on green screen with CGI. Whereas there's still a physical performance aspect of it, but they will CGI in some of the more dangerous aspects to kind of, lower, obviously to lower the risk and to you get more takes out of it. It's cheaper, yada yada. So a lot of the special effects advancements have changed what are deemed necessary, what are seen as necessary, and what are risks that people are willing to take since I got into business.
And I want to say there's been a lot more women getting a lot more opportunities to do car turnovers, and the fights have gotten bigger. It's just a lot more opportunities for women.
Okay, well, we only have about 4 minutes left, and I don't want to keep you guys. But Eddie, I have just got to ask you, because you keep talking around stuff. Give us some names. Who wouldn't you work with again? We want the tea. Who would you not work with again?
Michael Bay, hands down. He's a fucking asshole. That's about as plain as I can say it.
And that's what Eddie sounds like when he's not pulling punches. Be Trusty, you had a question.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. You were talking about how much safer it is to do the stunts. Is that because of following like OSHA guidelines, or is it more of a self-governed entity as far as safety rules are concerned?
I'd say it's technology advancements. It's ability to practice and do like rehearsal has become more of a thing. Previses, like Noelle was saying, which is a pre-visualization, whereas the stunt coordinator will put together the team and actually shoot the action sequence either partially or in its totality, utilizing all the different technologies that they will actually use on the day in the space, but in a constructed space in a rehearsal area. So being able to do that and work out some of the kinks before you actually get on set is very helpful. Like I said, there's been new technologies in terms of rigging technologies, in terms of safety technologies, different pads. I'm sure Angela can speak to the many new pads that have been come into place, because a lot of times women don't have as much gear on as men do. So there's going to be new things that she can tuck in different places that enable her to take a little bit of the sting off some of the hits. Just all that thing. Just general. There are stunt people who have been involved. I know some stunt people have created a new fire gel and different things like that. So because, as Angela said, we need to be so multifaceted. A lot of us have branched off into certain other aspects of the business, and a lot of those things have resulted in safety, safety consciousness and safety creations that have made it easier and safer for us to do our jobs.
Yeah, and also on the rigging side, as you were saying, there's people that have come to our industry with engineering degrees and have worked for NASA, and they're using their technology that they learned outside of the film industry and incorporate it into ours, like winches, high-speed winches and stuff that all the shows use. Cirque du Soleil uses. We've adapted those to work for us to make it safer.
Yeah, I think also the inclusion and rights of performers of color has increased. The opposition to paint downs and for women being doubled by women. The cases of that are rare. It used to be par for the course. It used to be all the time, and now you don't I'm sure it still happens, but you certainly don't hear about it as much anymore. So I'm glad to see that improvement.
Okay, I'm going to wrap things up, but if there's one thing you wish every producer, director, or whatever understood about working with stunt professionals, last question, what is it?
That we're human, because the thing is, we're all replaceable as a stunt performer, but we're human. Treat us as such. We're just as valuable as the actor.
That was it. Yeah, I'm gonna second that because that was exactly what I was gonna say.
Don't undercut us financially. We have value, and we're the only group that puts their life on the line in a film. So respect that.
Daily, consistently, and take after take after take. And when you rush stunts at 3 a.m. in the morning, or when you rush stunts at 5 a.m. in the morning because the sun's coming up, I wish that would change. Not cool. And on top of that, if you only have one take, it's not cool.
One thing I wish would change that more, greater incidence of stunt acting. I really believe that actors who are athletes are twice as valuable as your average actor. It's like watching a basketball game, right? And they do a close up of the basketball player, but it's actually Michael Jordan taking the shots. I feel like people in stunts are the Michael Jordans, and nobody talks about them. They talk about the guy that's pretending to be the basketball player. No offense to any actors, but that's how I feel. I think they're the most incredible people on screen, period.
Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you, everybody who stuck around and listened to our pod. Like to thank everybody that participated, Eddie, Damion, Noelle, Angela. Thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to us. Cheryl.
But I want to thank everybody. Let's have more of these. I see your emojis. Let's have more of these conversations when you guys have projects. Come do a pod here. I really just want our community to be able, in the entertainment industry, especially those of us of marginalized communities, to be able to have fun, to relax, and to really talk to, quote unquote, regular folk. Right. And we're going to need this over the next few years. And you guys know, what do I do best? I build community. Take it from here, Nicci Freeman.
Before I go, Damion is creating a documentary on horses. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because he's also trying to save his lovely, lovely horse, Sammy. So can you give us a quick breakdown of your Saving Sammy documentary that you're working on?
Okay, super quick. So Saving Sammy is a documentary about horses, which is one of the keys to human advancement. As I said earlier in the pod, I came into horses later, about 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the reasons I came into it was because I was working on a creative project that was very challenging, and it started to affect my mentals. And, we know how much mental health is important and how little we talk about it. Well, my wife was like, I know what will help you. I'm going to get you a horse. So she spent 7 months, 3-4 hours a day looking for the perfect horse for me that would be a perfect companion to help me through these things. And she found Sammy. And Sammy is amazing. He got me through it. He's been incredible. He's like I call him my other half. But Sammy contracted 2 different horse situations. One is PSSM, which is basically horse diabetes, and the other one is VSLD, which is a longer, more difficult thing to explain. But basically, the back of his legs are starting to collapse. Tendons that hold the back of his legs up are starting to collapse. With the industry being so upside down and things like that, I was trying to figure out what I could do because obviously most of us are working a lot less than we're used to. And so my idea was every time Sammy and I have gone viral like 2 or 3 times with at least 25 million hits. And every time we go viral, people ask a bunch of questions about equestrianism and horsemanship. So my idea was we're gonna combine these 2 things. I'm gonna save Sammy, and I'm gonna learn a heck of a lot more about horses and share it. So right now it's on GoFundMe, and I'm fundraising and trying to find enough time to push it the way I need to. But the goal is to make a documentary. And this can go seasons because the more I learn about horses, the more I learn there is to learn about horses. And it'll be about saving the horse to save me and teaching and explaining how much horses have affected and influenced and helped humanity in a documentary style.
I do know Noelle asked a question earlier that we didn't get around to, but what is it that you put in your hair that makes all your horses want to lick your head?
Nothing. I actually don't put anything in my hair because I know how much they love doing it, and I don't want to risk doing it. But grooming is a sign of affection in horses. So when they do that, it's them saying they love you. That's what they do to each other So he's basically every time, and he does it almost every day. When you see him munching on my head, it's him telling me he loves me.
Aw.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Like
I thought you were putting peanut butter on your head.
I don't have to put anything in. No, he just does it. You know, he just started doing it one day, and I just started recording it, and that's what goes viral. Especially because I don't make an expression because he's done it so many times. So I'm sitting there with blank face while he's just munching away at my head.
Okay, thank you everybody, and we're gonna wrap this up. But thank you everybody for hanging out, and thank you everybody for participating. Next up, Cheryl and I have super exciting news. If you were here with us for episode 4, you know how much we love Bill Duke.
Bill Duke will be getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in February 2026. Stay tuned. Please follow us on social media to see more about it. And Nicci and I wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. And we will see you all back here on January 8th.
Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy the time, unplug if you can, and come back ready.
Take care. Be safe.
The Women of Color Unite podcast is hosted by Cheryl L. Bedford and Nicci Freeman, produced by Nwabata Nnani, and edited by Lauren Bonett. The music is by Oh Yeah, featuring Nayuta. Subscribe to the Women of Color Unite podcast to never miss an episode. If you want to submit questions or responses to this episode, you can send them to podcast@wokeunite.com. Find the show notes and transcripts for this podcast on our website at wokeunite.org, where you can also learn more about Women of Color Unite and sign up to become a member for free and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation. Donations are what enable us to create amazing programs like our #StartWith8 career development program. If you're on social media, you can follow the podcast at WOCU Podcast, and you can follow Women of Color Unite at wokeunite.org.
Please stay tuned and join us for the next episode of the Women of Color Unite podcast, because we telling it like it is.
We need rebels and troublemakers to stand out, marginalized with voices making us so proud for identity in the industry. We all shout, so many women empowered making their own route.
Ageism, racism, sexism.
Uncovered, they get together to form a force to prove the one that ain't gotta have a child to be seen as a mother. I'm saying,
all power
to the women of color. Yeah. It's just a salute to Cheryl Bedford, leading activist in the community. She's bridging the gap and bringing all women together to fight for real inclusion amongst all the diversities. Keep going.